and whatever I see is smiling at me. Love is who I am.
So hello there, beloved Ascension pioneers, and welcome to this short presentation with me where I will be discussing some of the current planetary aspects and our celestial influences, as well as give you a short presentation into my newest course on solar consciousness. So what is this all about? The first thing I want to say is that recently, astrologically, our beloved planet Saturn is making a conjunction with the Galactic Center. What is that? If you've taken my Galactic Signature course, you know that this course has developed all around the galactic core. How can you find it in your chart? What influences you have there? What degrees are specifically related to this? What are cosmic degrees? Things like that. So you probably know what I'm talking about. If not, please know that currently, as we're standing positioned on our planet right now, the location of the Galactic Center for us is at 26 to 27 degrees of Sagittarius. This is how we're looking into the galactic pulse, the grand central core. So in my course on solar consciousness, I actually talk about the higher perspective of these influences in terms of solar consciousness, what it is, how to embody it, how to bring it into a conscious connection. I talk about many things in that course. Mostly I teach you how to really relate to the interplanetary connections, as in terms of the sun being the higher self for the whole of the solar system, how you can establish your own personal connection with the sun and all these planetary aspects and all the archetypes, because they're all interconnected, and the sun has the encoding for all. The sun receives from the grand central sun, as we do through our own sun, because the sun is the port for the ascension of the earth. When you have the greater understanding, so just as you're evolving and ascending through your higher self, so is the earth ascending through the higher self. In our terms, this is the sun receiving from the galactic core. So with any aspect that's very important, especially with the planets that are closer planets, personal planets, or planets that really deal with the way you structure the foundation of a reality here. And the thing is, Saturn is such an influential planet when it comes to how do we live, how do we make things practical, because many people associate it with limitations and time, as being the Lord of time. Sometimes they call it the Lord of restriction and limitation, but it's not just that. I always see the connections of Saturn as, how do we make those things real? How do we bring those things into matter? And that's one of the hardest things, and sometimes it's challenging, and that's why we would say, oh, it's limiting or it's restricting, because it feels like that, because it's easier to just be in that nature of the utopian dream worlds, right? And then it's all about, at this time, how do we bring it into the conscious practice? How do we choose in a new way so that earthly embodiment and our own choice of what we choose through time, either not saying time does not exist at all, or saying, yeah, time is all I know. But this integrated consciousness when you're in fluctuation with all of life. So this is going to happen throughout the March, throughout the month of March, I think up until May, something like that, and will be continuously happening throughout the year, I think November too, as I've heard in some of the astrological circles. Please note, I'm not an astrologer myself, so my course has some aspects on astrology, but it mostly teaches you to accept this higher consciousness of creation principles around the revolving nature of our ascension, the physical mechanics of ascension through the solar principle. So the understanding of the solar logos, as in the soul being our sun, our star that gives life, and our own our soul blueprint. So how do we make that self-realization more conscious? So that's what the course is about. At the same time, we have a very strong and influential Venus retrograde, which occurs around 1.5 years. So at this time, if you're a very sensitive, empathic being, you've probably heard it. Yeah, perhaps. But you've probably felt it very strongly. And you can see in my own language, I'm not that fluent as I usually am in my videos. It's like all these retrogrades and all these aspects, sometimes we feel like we have a limited flow of our life force. But this, in fact, is because at this time, particularly, especially first few days will be most intense and deeply felt. But this is for us to move deeper into, okay, perhaps I'm also starting new ventures. Perhaps I'm also finding value in new things that I haven't explored before. So when you feel like your life force is being drained from something, it's actually not. It's just being seen with different pair of eyes. So, when I see now, okay, I'm not as fluent with my words, perhaps it's not a time for me to focus so much on speech and speaking. It's a different time. So if you have any notion, and this is what I teach in my course, that when you have that embodiment of solar consciousness, you will start to engage more consciously with your physical body, with your own embodiment. You will look into planetary influences. You will look into transitory nature of the moon phases, the eclipses, the solstices, all of that, and to make it more conscious, because the light of the sun comes through all of these aspects. All the stations are interplanetary and they're interrelated. But the sun is the synthesis of all. The sun is the seed of that solar blueprint that it's within all, that flows through all. But when our consciousness is attuned to that, we feel the same way. I can give you my own example that I am just as the earth is most of the time. So when we have a few days of rain and you can feel this waves of cleansing and things moving, I feel just the same way. I'm not that active and proactive, and there's no sun, right, at sight. You don't see it, you don't get that light, you feel it. Because you're so in tune with life, you're so in tune with the energy that's flowing through, or not. And at those times, it's even more important for us to engage our own life force. The same goes when, let's give an example with our Venus now. When Venus is retrograde, we say, well, we don't feel so much the beauty and connections in our relationships, and they're more under evaluation. So we don't feel our life force the same way when the planet is moving direct. But it's not what it's about. It's not that it's not being felt. It's just that it's being readjusted. And during any period of readjustment, we will feel different. Our bodies are sensitive antennas to the whole of the cosmic energy. And we will feel it. And at those times, we'll usually be prone to developing new things. So if I'm not very fluent in my speech right now, okay, what am I actually moving through at this time that's different? That's bringing a new perspective. So it's not that my life force is drained or it's gone. It's just being, being in motion in a different way. It's moving towards perhaps something different at this time. Okay, so if you're feeling any of the symptoms, such as something to do with your heart chakra, something to do with feelings of sadness, isolation, like you're losing something, there's a certain amount of loss. This is connected as well with this Venus retrograde, because any type of that feeling, again, will make us more conscious. And when we're more conscious, we say, okay, so how can I bring more of that through my conscious engaging? Not by forcing it and saying, I need to feel this way, so let me artificially create that feeling. No. But just accepting life as it is and not being passive or victimized. Just moving with the force of life where it wants to go. And if we don't observe, or we don't take the time to observe, then we won't feel those changes really. We won't be really conscious about it. So in the course about solar consciousness, I teach how to make that more practical, how to actually attain and create your own relationship with the sun. I'm going to tell you my own personal relationship story with the sun, because whenever there's sunny outside, if it's the whole day, that's the amount of duration that I'm preferably going to be outside. And most people don't understand that, because they're so used to living indoors, in closed spaces. It's sunny outside and they're working hard all the time inside. It's not really natural. When we're natural and we're organic beings, and I think that's what Saturn now, its movement with the alignment with the Galactic Center, is showing us how to be more natural through our bodies in our own restructuring of time, because the precipitation of the Galactic Center is that core alignment. So us as core beings, us within our creation self. So that's the natural organic template of our ascended nature. The galactic core is like the heart pulse of the universe, the heartbeat. And sometimes when this heartbeat is going to increase, and I talk also about the Schumann's resonance, which is, being measured and increasing at this time, you might feel changes. You might feel like tensions in your body. You're going to have, sometimes I have restless leg syndrome. You're moving your feet, they feel kind of nervous and agitated at that time. Is your body, our bodies are adjusting to these frequencies. So in the Saturn, because Saturn has such a strong impact on our body, will be in the Galactic Center alignment, it will show us how to make that more organic with the structure and how we measure time, what we give our time to. And because Venus at the same time is also retrograde, what do we value? What are our true values? Perhaps your value is nature, but you don't spend much time in nature, and you really would want to, but you never do anything about it. Then you always complain like, oh, I live in the city, blah blah. Well, that's victim passive mode. So to be more conscious, to be more engaged with that which is natural to us, I think at this time we're going to be looking into, with this alignment, if you have any of your natal planets there in the galactic core, which I do. My direct alignment is with Neptune. Neptune is in the galactic core in the 12th house for me. And if you want to know more, you can take the galactic signature course, because it teaches you how to read your own star map, and it's designed that way. And it's one of my popular courses, so I advise you to take that if you haven't yet. But when you have a specific planet there exactly, that's a strong precipitation through the galactic center, and for me it occurs through Neptune. So as in any transits, for me, I would be advised when I work with the solar consciousness, which is all of these bodies as one, all bringing us messages, all bringing us a certain fusion of something, all working together. So you say something goes retrograde, something goes this, it's a dance. It's a very evolved dance, and we have this understanding. We won't see it like, people say, oh, Mercury's retrograde, oh, bad. No, not bad. It's exactly designed the perfect way for us to grow through the template of this creation and how it's unfolding within our solar system at this time. And I talk about many more concepts, such as, the life and the death of the star, and what does this mean in the grand design scheme of things. So if you have, let's say, any of the natal personal planets in the galactic core, or very close to that alignment, you will have been receiving through many of the phases of transits through astrology in your own chart. So this means when this planet will shift, when it will make its different motions, you will be affected strongly by it. So for me personally, because now Saturn is in conjunction with this galactic core, it means it's also in my Neptune, my natal Neptune. So how would I look into that? It's a matter of deepening and understanding how we can work with that. I also talk about the meaning of working with the planets specifically, because even if we can't see something, right, as an object, let's say certain planets that are close, we can see, right, in our sky. We can have this connection just by looking at what we say, oh, it's a star. Well, it's not all the stars. Certain shiny objects are also planets. It's how we see Mars, right, like this ball of fire in the sky. It's very bright. Or Jupiter and Venus are all pretty bright. We can't see Venus when she moves into her descent. But the thing is, with those, we can say very easily, wow, we established a link. I'm looking at the sky. I'm stargazing. But the thing is, even with those that we can't always see, or even constellations or fixed stars, things like that, we can have a connection. It's through consciousness. So this is the whole emphasis of my course, because everything is so beautifully interconnected, and it's all within our galaxy. So when we talk about the galactic core, it's the galactic core of our galaxy. If you want to deepen your knowledge about that, either consider taking the galactic signature course, or now this new solar consciousness course that I created. It's a mastery course. I also teach you some of the breath work, how you can unify your breath, how you can attune to establishing, like I said, your personal relationship with the sun, because it's as your consciousness tunes into that solar logos and your own divine design, your own blueprint, all you want to do is be self-realized, and a lot of that comes through your personal relationship with the sun. Like the ancients, they used to worship the sun. That's how we perceive it, because we don't have understanding, but in truth they did not worship it. They simply understood it and had this reverence for its movement, and what it means, what it is. So that's it. I wanted to give you some insight. Take a look into how all these things affect you. Perhaps take a look into where your own Venus retrograde occurs. My example would be, I think Venus is in 13 degrees of Aries. That's where she started her retrograde motion. And for me, I look into my chart, right, my natal chart. I see where those degrees fall. It's my 4th house, family, home, my center, my roots. See how that's shifting. And a lot of times during those retrogrades, when we feel like the energy of our own life force kind of moves away, if we're not conscious, if we're still too much having this perception that's not holistic, that's not coming from our wholeness, we want to somehow fill that hole. like Venus goes retrograde, you might, you know, overdo with the shopping and, you know, things like that, just to kind of bring that back to you, but you're not really bringing anything back to you. You're just creating more of that dross that surrounds you. It's not really conscious. So when we're conscious of our feelings, you know, even our dreams, they're so intensifying at this time. I had a few very intense mother-father dreams at this time. Very primordial dreams, the union of our inner selves. Because at this time, when something is so strongly associated, we're getting many messages through our dreams. It's very important to observe now. And you're probably going to have yourself these dreams that will give you a lot of influential understanding about this. So do not do that unconsciously with any movement, with any strong positioning. And this year we have quite a few. Try to move with it consciously. Try to have an understanding what's happening and where most of this energy is happening for you, and move through that with understanding, you know. So anything like that. So don't just look at things dealing with astrology like, oh, you know, this is happening. Oh, so I'm probably going to experience this, and then you wait. No, you know, in my solar consciousness course, I teach that you instigate those changes. You are the initiator of all of these changes. You are the force that is the actor, the enabler, the conscious co-creator within your own domain. You make things happen. So don't just say, okay, so this is obviously where this retrograde will happen, or, you know, this alignment will happen for me. It triggers or activates this plan, and then I just think something's going to happen on the outside for me. No, but I start allowing that my consciousness begins to shift in what is being internally shifted and then externally experienced on my human self component. So if you are into that, if you want to understand more, I also show you some of the beautiful cards and pictures, some of the activations through the solar system, and some of the stellar, you know, more like cosmic things. It's pretty fun. It's very fun. It's around 2.5 hours, a little more. The course is pretty long, but it goes deep, and I think it's a nice course for those of you who want to go deeper. It also promotes self-research, because, you know, now so much of that is available when we just simply browse the web. You know, we go through Wikipedia, you know, so much on Google. We just need to have that devotion to that, so we can have a bigger understanding that we're not just this dot somewhere in the universe that's meaningless and purposeless, because we are so purposeful when we start aligning with our cycle of self-realization. And the nature of the Galactic Signature course that I developed was to help you understand why you're a certain way, why you prefer these things to those things, because we self-realize in a unique way. What something is of great value to someone might not be to someone else, you know. Some people might self-realize through lots of yoga, you know, lots of this exercise. Those of us who are more like guides and these pillars, we need different things. We need different movements, or how we receive information will be different than how perhaps someone else receives. So this is all in our position. And as we're going through these transits, you know, day by day, month to month, year per year, decade, and, you know, many years to come, we're going to experience those things. So the more we know and understand our chart, the more this helps us with understanding the transits. So you don't have to be an astrologer, like I'm not either, but during the years I've been tuning into some of the information from those people I felt trust in, that I felt they're sharing good things about astrology. It helped me to bring a little bit of that into the structure of my knowing, which is more direct. So sometimes bringing that and unifying, almost like astrology and astronomy are not two separate things. They can unify, and they are unifying more and more. Both are equally needed, equally important. So it's not just one type of science, the other type of science. It's more unified. So time to get cracking, time to get really into this. I wish you beautiful Venus retrograde and this Saturn conjunction with the galactic core, how you will feel it yourself. Just like I say, try to find beautiful, at least, I don't know, maybe astrological sources online, whatever. There is this free page, astro.com, when you can just tune into your own chart. You know, you only have to know your data. You have to know yourself. But remember that love is that which is before all knowledge. So love has no reason, no meaning, no validation. It is. So for me, when I receive, because my Neptune is there with the galactic core, it's just a feeling. And then all the other aspects that I have help me to translate that feeling into something more substantial. It has more substance, it has more pragmatic essence. So we're all of that, and we need the things that we need to not just self-realize, but also help others to self-realize, because we're all in this together. All beautiful particles, all light beings here in service to the great unity consciousness. I love you all so very much, and I'll talk to you soon. So consider taking the course, okay? Or if not, consider sponsoring me on Patreon. If you don't know what that is, take a look down below, or just visit my donation page if my videos resonate with you and if they help you in any way during your own ascension process. And I love you so very much. Take care. Bye.